So once you have your dry ingredients sifted and your egg whites whipped, you want to make sure they are stiff peaks. So if you take out your whisk, you want it to hold its shape, and if you tip it over, it still holds relatively well. And then you want to just get most of the meringue off, and then you'll put it just in your dishes or rinse it off if you have a chance. So what you want to do first is scrape the sides. Make sure you have all your egg whites in the middle. And then I add about half to start with of the dry ingredients. And then you want to fold in your dry ingredients. This is the most important step because if you just stir it or use a whisk, it will lose all the air you made with the meringue, and it's not going to come out with the fluffy and delicate texture you want. So I usually go around the sides and then come out through the middle and then scrape the sides, make sure you're getting all the ingredients. Get the bottom really well because it will pile up when you scoop down. Don't worry, your hands are going to get dirty. It's just part of the pan, your mess.
Part of the joy of baking.
Yeah, that's why you keep your hands clean and you also wash them very frequently. This is not ready to eat food, so you don't need gloves. Once you bake them and you're assembling them, you will, just for the food safety. All right, so it's not completely mixed, but you don't want to over mix it, so you don't want them to be completely in there. And then you want to add the rest of your ingredients. This is also where you will add in your flavorings. Since we're doing several different flavors, I'm not going to mix them in right now. So we'll separate the batch after we finish mixing it mostly together. Just be careful not to dump out your dry ingredients when you're mixing. It looks a little weird right now. It's just because the egg whites are kind of thick. So when you're mixing, it doesn't look like it's doing much, but in reality it is mixing down below. See how it keeps getting lower? That's because the dry ingredients are falling into those air pockets and mixing with the egg whites. It's a little painful. It's going to take some strength. You can do it. It'll take a little bit. You want to be gentle with it. Otherwise you're going to manhandle it and it'll lose its air. So I stir the bowl as I move it, or as I move the spatula, so that way it's not just stagnant and I miss parts. You can do whatever works for you, but that's what I found works best. And then you want to make sure you scrape off your spatula. On the bottom, it'll be closer to what it originally was, and on the outside, it'll be what you've mixed, and you want to make sure everything's well combined. So now it's getting closer to looking like a dough, which is not what we're wanting. It's a pipable consistency, so you're going to have to mix it a little bit more. Right now, this is going to be good since we're going to be separating it and adding in different flavors. So you'll want to set it to the side and get different bowls for flavors. I should probably do that first. All right. So you want it all, when it is fully mixed, to be a solid color. So it'll usually end up, if you are just doing like a basic vanilla or plain macaron, it's going to be like a pale yellow off-white. That's just from the almond flour, since it is a little brown from, almonds being ground up. With your egg whites, you want them to be a very bright white. You don't want any yolks. It will affect the aerating and it won't come out. make sure everything is relatively equal so that way you don't have a very small batch or a large one. Alright, that's relatively good. We're going to leave a little bit in here so we can do just a basic vanilla instead of using an extra bowl. Okay, I'm going to go wash my hands and then we'll add in the different flavors. Alright, so for macarons, they can vary in size. The average one is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. So what you want to do is get your piping bag. A good size one to have is about a 12 inch. It's good to fit everyone's hands. And then you want to twist your back end. This is where you're going to be squeezing and then guiding with your non-dominant. So you want to hold it just above the pipe or the pan, and then you want to gently squeeze and keep it level until you get about the size you want, and then release the pressure, then twist it to not get a tip. If you do end up getting little spikes on it, you can dip your finger in water and then just pat it down, and then it'll give you a smooth top, and then you're pretty much done. So, and then you'll just repeat that with the rest of your batters. Sometimes you need a partner.
Huh?
Okay.
That starts?
Yeah, that or a little bit bigger.
Okay. Do one on the tray. What do you know? I know, but I'm just like waiting on.
Alright, that's the one.
Oh no, I didn't listen. I think she did it nice though. I don't know how she did that. I think I'm assuming this.
I don't know how she did that, but okay.
How she do? Chef G. Oh, go ahead, go ahead. Me? No, I didn't. Did you know what you do is sitting down on your phone? I can do this. Yes, yes.
There's also templates you can use, so you can put those under your parchment or your silicone mat, and you can see how big you need to make them. That's help keep your consistency the same. It's really good if you're trying to sandwich them together. And then also, once you get used to the size that you need to pipe it to, you can take those out and then you can just free pipe them like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I can tell. Look at that. What do you got? Up here? Okay.
I mean, if it's the same flavor, you can just make sure they're about the same size.
Anna, what temperature are we cooking these at?
So we are baking these at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. They can usually bake around 300, 325. You'll want to check your oven. I usually have a oven thermometer to make sure it's the right temperature, because if it's too hot, it'll burn the tops and the bottoms will still be raw. And if it's too low, it'll take way too long and you'll lose the consistency and it won't bake right.
About how long would you give one pan?
So one pan, I usually do it for 5 minutes, turn it around in the oven, and then put it in for another 6. And then to check if they're done, I take them, once they're ready and out of the oven, even when they're really hot, I just pick them off the parchment, and if they come off very easily and just pop off, they're good to go. If they still stick and you can't get it off, they still need a little bit longer. Don't do this. Don't do this. Someone do this. You can do it.
No, I have to wash my hands.
Then set it down.